Hi, my name's Johnny and this is a part-time investor. So, did Trading 212 pay me the wrong dividends? Well, I'll put you out of your misery. Yes, they did. But I'll go into that in a little second. But first, as is the channel all about me getting to grips with the stock market, I thought I would go over the basics of dividends first. As if someone had asked me, I know, a couple of months ago what a dividend was, I'd probably been able to tell them that it was a payment made by a company if you own a stock. But other than that, I really had no idea. So if you're watching this now and you're just starting out on your investment journey and you want to know a bit more about dividends, then continue watching. If you just want to know about the mistake that Trading 212 made, I'll put a time in the description that you can skip to if you want. Also, if you haven't already, give me a cheeky like and subscribe. This is the new channel, it'll really help me out. Cheers. Okay, so like I said, the dividend is a payment made by a company for you owning and holding onto their stock, and it's a bit like a thank you to people who've invested in that company. So generally a company will say, hey, we made some profit this year, we want to share that with you as you are an investor in our company, here you go. Generally when you get paid that dividend, you can either reinvest it or you can go and take it and spend it on whatever else you want. And that's what people tend to do if they're building up a dividend portfolio for retirement. They'll look to build up a sizable pot so that they can draw down a dividend every single year to pay them an income and not have to sell off any of their underlying assets. I'm not currently looking to take any income from my dividends as I don't hold enough assets yet to really have any sizable income from them, and also as I've already got a salary, I don't need to take that. So I'm going to be continuing to reinvest it and build up my pot. Maybe when I'm in my late 40s, 50s, 60s, I'll then reassess that and start to take those dividends as an income. Anyway, so back to dividends. There's a few key phrases that you'll probably come across, and there's certainly things that I didn't know about and maybe you don't know about, so I'll just go through them. So first is the declaration date. Now that's the date that the company will declare what their next dividend payment will be, when the record date is, and when the payment date is. Okay, simple so far. So the record date is the date you have to be on that company's books in order to receive the dividend. Now you might think, okay, fair enough, I need to have bought my stock before the record date, and then I'll be able to get my dividend, and that's right, but there's something else in between. It's what's called the ex-dividend date. So now, because it takes a few days in between buying your stock and being put on the company's record, you need to have bought your stock a few days beforehand. So that's where the ex-dividend date comes in. So let's say, as an example, the record date is on a Friday. That means the ex-dividend date is going to be Thursday. So you have to then have bought your stock before that ex-dividend date. So you have to have bought your stock on Wednesday or before Wednesday to get your dividend. Now, as far as I can tell, it's about 15 days-ish between the declaration date and the record date. So there's a bit of time there to say, oh, actually, maybe I want to buy into that stock because of this dividend. Okay, hope that seems kind of easy so far. So let's say you bought your stock on a Wednesday. So you bought it before the ex-dividend date, you're on the record, you're going to get your dividend. You might think, right, well, as soon as I'm on the record, I'm going to get paid straight away. Well, no, you've got to wait for what's called the payment date, and that's generally another 15 or so days after the record date. So you're going to have to wait a little bit to receive your payment. Okay, so you might think, well, why don't I just buy a stock on the Wednesday and then sell it after I've had my payment, and I'll get my dividends and not have to hold on for very long and get that sweet, sweet moolah. Well, you could do that, but as soon as the stock goes ex-dividend, the stock price will drop by the amount of the dividend payment. So to make it easy, let's say the stock price is £100, the dividend payment is £1. So you buy your stock on the Wednesday for £100, the stock goes ex-dividend on the Thursday, and the stock price will drop to £99, so it'll drop by £1. So you'll definitely get your dividend of £1, but your stock's now only worth £99, so you've not made any money. Now, obviously in between that time, people are going to be buying and selling the stock, so it will go up and down, and you might make some money, you might lose some money, but it's not a way of making money in terms of just buying stock before and after the ex-dividend date. You might also think, okay, so I've bought my stock on the Wednesday, I'm going to have to hold it for that 15 or so days until the payment date. Well, actually, as long as you held it before the ex-dividend date and on it, then you will be on their record and you should receive that dividend. Now, I haven't ever sold a stock in between the ex-dividend date and the payment date. So I've got no personal kind of experience of how that works, but you should get paid that dividend. Okay, so that's how normal dividends work. There are things like special dividends that work slightly differently, I believe, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. A few other points that you might find useful are that American companies tend to pay their dividends quarterly, and UK companies tend to pay their dividends every 6 months. There are kind of differences in there, and some UK companies will pay their dividends every quarter, but in general that's how it works. ETFs, exchange traded funds, they tend to pay their dividends every quarter, and bonds tend to pay their dividends, interest payments, however you want to call it, every month. Something that I didn't know when I initially started buying dividend paying stocks is that you will get charged what's called a withholding tax on any foreign stocks you buy. Generally that's about 15%, and that's taken off before you ever get that dividend. There are a few key points that I kind of came across as I was investing in dividend paid stocks, and if you're just starting out your journey, hopefully that's helped you out a bit. Okay, so on to the mistake that Trading212 made when paying me a dividend. So recently I've received quite a few dividends, and every time you do, at least on the Trading212 platform, it'll come up with a little notification saying, hey, you've received a dividend from this company, this amount per share, and it totals this amount, which is fine every time I get them. Great, you know, I haven't got that much stock in any single one asset, so it's generally about a couple of pence, maybe up to £1. So I was surprised when I saw a notification that I'd received a dividend of over £8. Then I was especially surprised when I saw that it was my UK gilt bond that had paid me that. Now, I knew that my VGov bond ETF didn't pay anywhere near that amount. I own about £100-ish of that, so that would have meant it was an 8% yield, and I don't hold any ETFs that have a yield anywhere near that. After I googled what the latest dividend should have been and saw that it should have been 1.69 pence, and actually saw that what Trading212 had paid me was £1.69, then I could see that they'd, for some reason, given me 100 times more than they should have done. So I was a little bit surprised. I had a look. Yeah, I go onto my history, and in the dividends, it say I've received an £8 dividend from VGov. So I'm a little bit confused, and I think, well, maybe there's a special dividend, or maybe I've confused something. So I forget about it, leave it, you know, do whatever I'm going to do. So I go onto the Trading212 community and have a look on there, and yeah, I see that there's a couple of other people who seem to have the same issue, and it seems to be only affecting a few ETFs, which included my ETF, VGov, as well as a few others. Now, when I was reading through that, Trading212 seemed to say that they would notify the people who were affected, sent them an email, sent them a notification, but I haven't to this date received any notification or email in regards to that mistake. So I decided to calculate everything up to see whether that dividend had actually been paid to me, whether it was sitting in my free funds somewhere. So I calculated everything up, and nope, that dividend payment isn't in my free funds. So it still says it's been paid to me, but it definitely hasn't. Even though that's not a problem, it's not money that I was expecting to receive, and it's not money that I should have received. But it's a little bit annoying that it's still showing up in my history as received that. Now, I think from reading in the community that maybe there's going to be an update, and hopefully that'll be resolved, and it'll show my £5, £6 that I've actually received in dividends so far, rather than the £13 it's currently showing. And it's not really a major issue for me so far. I've not actually lost anything, I've not gained anything. It's just a little bit of annoyance, but all in all, I'm still really, really happy with how the Trading212 platform has been working for me, and I'm not going to be switching away because of this. So did Trading212 pay me a incorrect dividend? Well, it says they did. Whether they actually paid me or not, I don't know. I didn't calculate it at the time. It's definitely gone out of my account now, whether it's ever paid in the first place or not. One thing that's useful to know if you're using the Trading212 platform is how the history section works, because it took me forever to calculate what I'd earned and what should have been and should not have been in my free funds. So if you open the Trading212 history section and go to the top, you'll see like 4 tabs. You'll see the transaction tab, and that shows you every single payment you've made into your account, and also any free shares you've got. So that'll add up what you've paid in and what Trading212 have given you for free, currently am just over £2,500. The next tab across is the dividends tab, and that will show you every single dividend that you received and also the total amount of dividends you received at the bottom. So mine currently says £13 something, whereas actually it's around about £5 or £6. Then you have the order tab, which shows you all the stocks that you've bought and sold on the Trading 212 app, and that doesn't have any total at the bottom of it. And then you have the all tab. Now that shows you absolutely everything. It shows you every stock you've bought and sold, every free stock you received, every deposit you've made, every dividend you've received. So you'd think that the total in the all section would show you all the dividends you received and also any profit and loss you've made from buying and selling stocks. But actually it only shows you the profit and loss from buying and selling stocks. It doesn't add up any of the other things, which confused me for quite a while. So when you go to your main screen and you'll see the amount you've invested or the amount you have currently invested, the percent increase or percent decrease,